Hello everyone, welcome to Weekly Tech. Let's learn optional chaining today. And in between, I'll show you two new features that got introduced in ES 2020. One is the for off loop, and the second one is we can now define or even compute the properties of an object. By this, I mean we have a restaurant object here which is having two properties, name and the opening hours. Opening hours is again an object here which is having Monday as one of the properties. By computing the properties, I mean we can do this in JavaScript. That's completely legal. If I console restaurant object, then we get 9 as the closing hours on Monday. So 5 plus 4 is completely legal. But now we can also do completely legal. And it's working. You have 24 here, 12 plus 12. So you can have compute properties. Let me remove it because this is not what we want in our opening hours object. So we have a weekdays array here too. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna use the weekdays array to populate some of the properties in the opening hours object. And here, and we can do it like this. So first property is Sunday, and on Sunday, let's say we open at 00 and we close at 12 plus 12. That means we are completely open on Sunday. And let's have another property on Tuesday. So Tuesday is the second index, and on Tuesday we open at 9 and we close at 5. So let's say you are receiving this opening hours details from an API call. Let's just imagine for a moment that you are receiving this opening hours object from an API call and you are uncertain about the properties or the values inside opening hours. It can be all the 7 days and it can be few days. And let's imagine you want to know the opening hours for Wednesday. So what you can do, or what you will do, is you first, and here you want to know the opening hours of Wednesday. This you will do, but we can see that in the restaurant object Wednesday is not defined. If I console restaurant for a moment just to show you guys, so you can see in the opening hours Wednesday is not defined. So when you are trying to access a property which is not defined, you'll get a type error. Why? Because Wednesday is not defined. So here comes the optional chaining feature that was introduced in JavaScript ES 2020. You can use this optional chaining operator right after the property which you are uncertain about. For example, you are certain about that in the restaurant object you will definitely gonna get opening hours, but you don't know whether you'll get Wednesday or not. So you can use this optional chaining operator to get saved from undefined errors or type errors. So in this case, what optional chaining operator will do, it will immediately return undefined if the property with which the optional chaining is attached is not defined. So for an example, in our case, Wednesday is not defined, so it will immediately return undefined and it won't check for the rest of the expression. But the point that one can note here is it will check only the property with which it is assigned. For example, let's say you don't have opening hours. Let me just comment this opening hours object for now, and restaurant is only having one key, that is name. So what will happen in this case? Let's see. You'll again get an error. Why? Because as we discussed earlier, optional chaining will only work with the property with which it is attached. So in this case, you can also put a operator here with the opening hours and you will be saved. Okay, so again, it won't check for all the expression that is on the left hand side of the optional chaining operator. It will check only the operator with which it is used. Okay, so if I remove it, we'll get an error. So for now, let me just uncomment the opening hours of object because we need it for this video. So let's imagine you don't want to use the optional chaining operator. So what you can do in this case is you can use an if condition. For example, if is not equal to undefined, then dot open, else log property is not defined. Property is not defined, and let's say you have Monday here and you want to access Monday's opening hour and you'll get 11 here. Okay, so by using optional chaining operator, your code will look more beautiful and it will save you from unnecessary processing. So you need to put an if else condition. But what if you have a lot of properties that you are uncertain with? It's not about only Monday or not about the weekdays. Let's say you have another properties that can come from an API call and you are uncertain about. So you need to put a lot of if condition, but instead you can use chaining of optional operators just like we do like this about the fields or the properties which we are uncertain. So you can use for of loop to iterate on any of the iterators. So in JavaScript, arrays objects are the iterators. So you can use for of loop to iterate over objects also. So in our case, let's say we want to iterate over the weekdays array, and I simply want to console the day. I'll get Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. But to get the index of the array, we need to tweak it a bit. So first we need to use dot entries function. So let's check first what dot entries will return. So I'll simply log weekdays dot entries, and if you can see, it returns an iterator, and you can iterate over an iterator. So you can use weekdays dot entries inside and for of loop, but to get the index you need to do it like this, and here you'll get all the index, and on the second or on the first index you'll get the values like this. But we have learned array destructuring in our previous videos, and that we can use here. We can simply destructure right at the moment we are taking the values from weekdays dot entries. How? We can do it like this: index comma value, and we can simply console index comma value and we'll get the same output. Okay, so now I'm interested in using the val variable. Val variable will hold the days. Okay, so now I want to use this variable's value to access the properties of the opening hours object. How we can do it? Let's see here. So I simply want to log the values restaurant dot opening hours dot. Now if I do it like this, then it won't check for the value which the val variable is holding. It will indeed check for the val property inside the opening hours, but we are interested in the value which is this val variable holding. So we need to use the brackets here, and with brackets we can use optional chaining also. So dot open, and if we are uncertain about the val will hold the days, and we are uncertain about the values of the days, whether the opening hours will have those values or not. So we can use the optional chaining operator here, and then we can console it. So opening hours has 3 days, but for rest of the 4 days it's undefined. So let me just let me hold this value to an object, this value to an variable, and I want to print the variable like on restaurant will open at okay. So let's see. So on Tuesday restaurant will open at 9, but for rest of the things I'm getting undefined. Why? Because those are not defined. See here. So on Sunday restaurant will open at 0, and Monday and Tuesday we are getting the values because they are defined, but for rest of them they are not defined. That's why we are getting an undefined here. So we have learned this thing in our previous videos about the nullish coalescing operators and the short circuiting operators in JavaScript. So we can use them here, and if we are uncertain about and we don't know whether open will have those values or not, we can simply use the or short circuiting and say it is closed. So if we run it, so on Sunday we are closed. There is a bug here. For rest of the days we are getting on Wednesday restaurant will open at closed. So let's not go on the grammar here. We are more interested on the demo part. So we'll keep it as it is. But we have a bug here. On Sunday we have opening hours at 0. But due to this or short circuiting, we are getting closed. So to resolve this caveat, we have seen this in our previous videos, and if you haven't seen the short circuiting and nullish coalescing operator video before, please click on the I button which is coming on the top right corner of your screen. So instead of using the short circuiting, you can use the nullish coalescing operator, and nullish coalescing operator will only work if you have undefined and null sitting on the left hand side, and you'll get the correct output. So can we use optional chaining with arrays and methods? Yes, indeed, we can use it. So let me quickly create a function inside the restaurant object, order pizza. So there are many ways of declaring functions inside object. One way is to do like this. But now with the new features in JavaScript, you need not to declare or use the function keyword here. You can simply declare the functions like this, and yes, it's legal and it will work. So I'll use the rest parameters in ingredients, and I will simply ordering pizza with, and I need to put them in the brackets, and let me have a loop here, and we can have a for up loop here for sure, and let's say ingredient of ingredients will be an array here, and we have seen this in our previous videos. Rest parameters and spread operators is coming on the top right corner of your screen. Please click it. If you haven't watched it, please watch it. We have covered a lot. So ingredients will hold the ingredients, and we can simply log them one by one. Ingredients, and if you call, let me just comment out the other console. The console will be clear for you. Okay, and let me call restaurant dot order pizza with, let's say, chilies, and I want some tomatoes, and here we are. We get the functions, and here we are ordering pizza with the two ingredients that we want. So where to use the optional chaining here? If we are uncertain about the functions also, we don't know whether those functions will be defined or not. Let's say we are calling restaurant.order, and we'll get an error because order is not defined. So again, you can use optional chaining here to get to know whether that function is defined or not. And again, you can use, and you can call it this way. If it is defined, call it, otherwise nothing. If it is defined, call it, otherwise it will return undefined, and we can handle it in the nullish coalescing operator, and we'll simply say method is not defined. And here we are, method is not defined. And if we say order pizza, so what do you think, what will be the output here? Order pizza is defined, and nullish coalescing operator will work if restaurant.order pizza will return either undefined or null. And what order pizza is returning here? It's not returning anything. Just pause the video for a moment and think about it. Did you get the correct output? The function as well as the console.log got called because order pizza is not returning anything. That means it is returning undefined. And to prove that, let me call it inside a console.log and see. If you let me just comment it out, and if you can see, this console is coming from the consoles of order pizza, and this undefined is coming from this console.log, because restaurant.order pizza is not returning anything. And that's why in our case both the console.log and the function are getting called. So you need to be very careful while using the short circuiting and nullish coalescing operators. And that's what we have covered in our previous videos, that if you know what you are doing, then only use it, otherwise don't use it. And this is one of the most beautiful example that can create bug for you. Okay, this is just for the demo purpose, we have used a console log, but it can create a lot of blunders and bugs in your code if you don't know what you are using. Okay, so coming to the next part, can we use optional chaining with arrays also? Yes, we can use. We have an array here, the weekdays array. So let me just loop over it, or let's create a different array, const user, and inside user we'll have a name Uday and email uday@fakemail.com. This is not my mail ID, it's just a fake email ID. So if you are interested in the first index of the user array, we can use and want to grab the name property, we can do it like this. But if you are interested in the first index, and you'll get a type error. So you can use again the nullish coalescing operator here, and you'll get undefined. But for the 0th index, you'll get correct output. So this is the way you can use optional chaining with objects, methods, and arrays in JavaScript. That's all folks for this video. Please let me know in the comment section about your suggestions, doubts, and anything that you want me to discuss in the future videos. Everything is appreciable for you. Please hit the like, share and subscribe button. It gives me a lot of confidence to make such kind of videos, folks. Thanks a lot.